And welcome everyone. This demonstration is for how do we connect Azure Arc with your Kubernetes cluster. If it is deployed in Azure, if it is running in on-premises or maybe any other cloud provider, how will you going to connect with Azure Arc? So Azure Arc enabled Kubernetes allow you to attach Kubernetes cluster running anywhere so that you can manage and configure them in Azure. So let's see in action. First, we need to create the log analytics workspace, which we created in the previous exercise. And in this one, I'm going to use this bash here, which you can onboard by going to this option here, Cloud Shell. If there is no such storage account mounted, then you need to mount the storage account and then you can run the commandlets in that. So first we will be creating the Kubernetes cluster with 3 nodes in that. And for that, we need to store the Kubernetes orchestration command in a variable, which is this one here on the screen. So I'm creating this entire things in East US. You can choose any region of your choice. Successfully created the variable to store the latest version. And now we will be creating one resource group. So you can do that by the help of the commandlet, or you can directly go to your resource group list and create a new resource group from here. For example, let's say the resource group name is demo Nitesh-RG. I'm deploying this one in East US. Before you deploy any Kubernetes cluster, you need to make sure you will be going to your subscription, selecting your subscription, and under that you will see an option here called resource providers. And for resource providers, you can search for Microsoft.container service that should be registered, and followed by Microsoft.extended location that should also be registered for it. So this 2 extensions will be required. It can automatically register as well when you try to onboard it, but that can take another 1 or 2 minutes during the installation. So after this, we are all set to create a resource group. So I'm doing it graphically so that you guys can also be able to see it. And the name, we decided demo Nitesh-RG. And under this region, let's create one. Now we have resource group ready. And let's use this Cloud Shell to proceed. So I'm going to create a Kubernetes cluster by this commandlet here, az space aks space get dash credentials, which is actually not this one. This we need to run later on. We should be trying to run the commandlet, which is this one. Az space aks space create -- resource group, and resource group name, then your Kubernetes cluster name, and then if in case you want to enable any add-ons like monitoring, then Kubernetes version we are providing through the variable and generating the SSH keys location East US. This can take approximately 5 to 7 minutes to complete the deployment. Now you can see started running, and here you will find 2 more resource group created. one for your monitoring solution, and one for the orchestration solution in that. So we can see only one right now. Once the deployment will start, it will also create one more resource group, which is usually like MC underscore whatever the resource group name you have given, underscore whatever the name you have given for the cluster and the region where you're deploying it. So when you select that one, you will see the entire clustering solution available here in this one. Now you can see public IP address. It will also deploy load balancer and other things into it. You can see the entire clustering solution has been deployed, and also the remaining things are deploying right now, which you can check from here as well. This is running. So it can take another few minutes to deploy this. You can check your Kubernetes cluster by going to this resource group, which is demo Nitesh RG, and this is your Kubernetes cluster. You can check the node pools. So this AKS, Azure Kubernetes Service, is a managed service by Microsoft. So you can also scale out. Let's say as of now we have two virtual CPUs each. So we have 6 virtual CPUs and 21 gigs of a RAM in it. Okay. And from here you can see there are 3 VMs getting deployed in this one. This is still running. If you go back to the resource group, you will find all the clustering resource are available here. Okay. So let's wait for it to complete the deployment. Then we will going to run that commandlet for get the credentials. And then we will onboard this Kubernetes cluster with Azure Arc. You can also see the progress here. It's creating right now. As you can see, the node count is 3. When you click on that, you can see those all 3 VM. Node is nothing but a VM running in Azure. Okay. So this is creating right now. And if you click on this upgrade Kubernetes, it is already up to date because this is the most recent version while the time we are recording this demonstration. So let's wait for it to complete that. It should not take more than another 1 or 2 minutes, or I think the deployment is almost completed. We can see all the resources created by the Kubernetes, and we can also see the nodes right in it. Now it has been successfully completed. Next is we need to run this one so that it can merge as a current context in that home nitesh.kube and config in it. So we are all set now for onboarding it. So if I take one step back and go to this Azure Arc, you will find under the infrastructure, this is your Kubernetes cluster option. And by going to this Kubernetes cluster option, you can click on add the Kubernetes cluster with Azure Arc. And here it will show you before you add your cluster to Azure Arc, you will need to identify or create the Kubernetes cluster. So do check all this information. And then you can proceed next to the clustering detail. Here you need to provide the resource group. So Kubernetes Azure Arc allow you to connect your Kubernetes cluster to Azure and allowing you to use powerful tools such as Azure Policy and GitOps configuration for the cluster management. Azure Arc works by installing an agent on your cluster and creating a representation of your cluster as a resource in Azure. So for that, you need to select your resource group. Let's say I'm putting it in that log analytics RG, providing the cluster name. Let's say I would like to give that cluster name here, which is my existing one, that is demo 8, like demo Kubernetes and then the cluster. Location East US public endpoint. Then here you can tag it with your data center, city, state or district, or maybe country or region, and also allows you to put some custom tags for it as well. Then finally, you are all set to run the script. The instructions are available if you're running outside Azure. If you're already running within Azure, you can directly run this commandlet to connect with. This operation might take a while. Let it run. Now you can see connecting an Azure Kubernetes service cluster to Azure Arc is only required by running Azure Arc enabled service like app service and data services on cluster. Other features like Azure Monitor and Azure Defender are natively available on AKS, which is fine. Now let's wait for it to complete. It should not take another more than 1 or 2 minutes. Sometimes it can take a little bit longer, like 5 to 10 minutes. So just bear with that. Let it complete the deployment. Here you go. Successfully completed. Now, if you minimize this, go next to the verification. You can see this demo Kubernetes cluster was successfully connected to Azure. Now you can close that one, refresh, and you will see under this Kubernetes cluster for Azure Arc, you can see it's appearing. You can click on that and it can give you the detailed information about it. So this is how you can onboard, whether it is running in Azure or not, but that the process remains same, you can still be able to connect with it. Thank you everyone for your time.